Hello and welcome to Scream Scene, the horror movie podcast where we watch every horror movie ever made in chronological order and then we rank them from best to worst, but sometimes we get it wrong.
Sometimes people send in appeals for us to reconsider these rankings, and that is what we are doing today.
My name's Ben.
And I'm Sarah.
Thank you for listening to us today. So Sarah, as you said, we have an appeal that's come in to us from a listener.
Yes, so thank you, Nicholas Harold, for sending in this appeal. He wants to contest the ranking of The She Creature from 1956, directed by Edward L. Cahn.
The She Creature is currently ranked at number 101, below Zombies of Moratau and above Dracula's Daughter.
Okay. Nicholas is appealing for us to move The She Creature down. And he writes, "The She Creature is, quite frankly, pretty boring. None of the characters are likable, and the least interesting thing in the movie, Andrea learning to propel Dr. Carlo Lombardi's mental powers, happens off-screen in a montage. As such, my recommended placement is between two movies with similar themes and similar problems. Genuina, at number 127, has a female monster, and the best stuff happens off-screen, although for different reasons than The She Creature. Likewise, Werewolf of London at 157 has an unwilling transformee and totally unlikable characters. I would consider these films as a ceiling and floor, respectively." So, thank you again, Nicholas, for sending this in. Ben, what do you think of this?
Well, just to give us some baseline,
Yeah.
I thought we could listen to the ranking segment of the episode where we covered The She Creature. And then once we've sort of listened to us from the past give our rationale, we can consider Nicholas's rationale and discuss on whether we're going to re-rank this one. So, listeners, you'll hear a brief musical interlude. And when we come back, we might re-rank The She Creature.
So we have taken a listen back to our original rankings, and myself originally was thinking in this low range that Nicholas suggests. My original range for The She Creature was between Bride of the Monster and Neanderthal Man. Since Nicholas sent in his appeal, there has been some movies added to the list, so the
numbers have shifted.
Yeah. Bride of the Monster is at 143, Neanderthal Man is at 155, and Nicholas was suggesting between Genuina at 129 and Werewolf of London at 159.
Yeah.
What about for you?
So basically what we've learned here is that you were right to begin with. I don't know what happened.
I have this on record, Ben.
Right. I don't know what happened that I wanted to rank this really high.
Yeah.
Not high, but comparatively high.
Like in the 60s.
Yeah. We ended up with our spot at 101 as a compromise spot between me wanting to put it in the 60s and you wanting to put it in the 130s at the time. And we kind of just split the difference. So that's how it ended up where it is now. I think I'm okay with re-ranking it down into this lower area.
Okay.
I do have kind of a spot picked out.
What is your spot?
I am looking above Man Beast at 148 and below The Invisible Ray at 147. So that keeps it below Bride of the Monster, which was sort of your original ceiling, and it keeps it above The Neanderthal Man, which is your original floor. What do you think about that?
Remind me what Man Beast was, Ben.
Man Beast is the Yeti movie where the brother needs to find his sister and gets the mountaineering party to come take him into the mountains. And all of the climbing footage is actually stock footage from some old Mexican movie. And they have the fight with the Yetis and the flares in the dark.
That was really cool.
And then right below Man Beast is Face of Marble, which is hilarious nonsense, but nonsense nonetheless.
Okay, I have to think about this because I like Nicholas's range and his justifications for between Genuina and Werewolf of London. Genuina is quite a lot higher than where you're looking, by like 20 spots. And I don't know how I feel about going that high.
Yeah.
But it's tough because Man Beast had a recognition of how low their budget was.
Yes.
And trying to figure that out. Whereas She Creature was like, no, we can stretch this. We can stretch this a little bit more. Had its eyes a little bit too high for what it was trying to do. But it did still manage to do some very interesting things.
Yeah, it's hard to decide like which is more admirable, like coloring inside the lines or like, you know, having ambition. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Why do you feel below the Invisible Ray?
Honestly, just because like the Invisible Ray is like a fairly competent like Universal Studios Karloff Lugosi movie.
It's like the first time that Lugosi and Karloff get like put together, right?
It's the second after The Black Cat,
right?
Which is still probably the best
Absolutely.
Lugosi Karloff team up movie. Yeah, and The Unknown is above there, which is like weird Lon Chaney Sr. shit. Just like movies that have like more of a distinct identity than the She Creature does.
I think the other reason why I'm torn is because Man Beast is playing with the Yeti toolbox and doing some pretty fun stuff, but we've seen Yetis before that point.
Yes, although it was much better than a lot of the Yeti stuff we'd seen before that point.
Yeah, but it still was like, hey, here's stock footage for most of this movie. The She Creature, if my memory is correct, was the first time that we really had some of that Bridie Murphy stuff.
Yes.
And they really engaged with like the idea of like Bridie Murphy in everything but name, with like hypnotism being the latest trend and kind of poking fun at that.
And one of the things I brought up in my ranking was like that the costume design by Paul Blaisdell, even if it doesn't make any sense,
yes,
is quite like creative and memorable in a way that like the suits in Man Beast are not.
Yeah, they just look like dudes in
ape
furry suits.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll specify ape suits. They're not furries. They are suits that are furry. But yes, Blaisdell does have quite a creative mind for the She Creature. And honestly, fairly well put together, fairly well constructed.
Yeah. Yeah, it's probably one of his better costumes.
Yeah, cool. I'm good with this spot then. Invisible Ray, I don't know how... I almost feel like the She Creature could go above the Invisible Ray, but below the Unknown. Because the Invisible Ray is kind of tepid in what it's doing. It's like, invisible laser, melt statues, mew, mew, mew.
Yeah.
The Unknown is really well done, very unique, totally realistic with Alonzo the Armless and all these things. So, I don't know. How do you feel if it went above the Invisible Ray?
Yeah, I'm also okay with that. I was mostly giving Invisible Ray like points for having like real actors and stuff in it. But yeah, I'm totally fine with doing that. I mean, you know, we're moving it down, and I originally wanted it even higher than it ended up for some reason. So I'm okay with going up here.
I like that you're like, for some reason, like you acknowledge that maybe you were
yeah, I don't know. I was like really impressed with the She Creature somehow. And like in my memory now, like several weeks on, like that impression has faded.
That is why we have an appeals box.
Right, exactly. Okay, so let's put it in. This would be at the new number 147, below the Unknown and above the Invisible Ray.
Thank you, Nicholas, for sending in your appeal. If any other listeners would like to contest any other rankings, you can send us an appeal through our Ask box on Tumblr at screamscenepodcast.tumblr.com, or you can email us at screamscenepodcast@gmail.com, or chat with us on Twitter @_screamscene.
Thank you for listening to this appeal.
And you will find your regularly scheduled Scream Scene in your RSS inbox on Wednesday as per usual.
See you then, creatures of the night.
Bye!
Bye.